All right, everybody, welcome back to the Pirates Corner podcast. I'm Ryan Miller here with Josh Ruga again for episode number 8. Some topics that we are going to go over today is Trevor Williams' curveball, Jonah Davis and Aniel Cruz, Jung Ho and Eric winning the jobs, along with Gung Spring. Do fans value defense? Fifth starter, Nick Birdie's career, ERA versus FIP, and who gets designated for assignment. So we're going to go right into it with Trevor Williams' curveball. Now, Josh, you know more about this than me because I haven't gotten to watch a lot of the spring games since my baseball season has started. So let's hear about Trevor Williams' curveball.
Well, I haven't gotten to watch many of the spring games since we left Florida either, but I was able to do some research on this. I watched some segments. The Pirates 30 Clubs in 30 Days segment just came out with the MLB Network doing that feature on them. They were one of the last clubs in Florida to get that coverage.
It always seems like they are.
But, yeah, they saved the best for last.
Yeah.
So, anyway, Trevor Williams was able to deepen out his pitching repertoire by adding a curveball this offseason. It's a pitch that he's thrown some in the past, but it's a pitch that he's worked with Jameson Taillon on, like the grip and the rotation, what exactly he's looking for out of the pitch. And working with Cervelli, they feel like it's a very good pitch for him to, like at least an above average pitch for him to use this season to help generate some more strikeouts, because that would be the only concern around Trevor Williams right now. His walk rate he kept under control last year, but the strikeout total was just a bit on the low side. He struck out 6.64 batters per nine. So there's some questions about the sustainability with a 3.14 earned run average, and just kind of giving us a little preview of what fielding independent numbers should look like, as we'll talk about a little bit later in the show. But having a deeper repertoire, being able to show two different off-speed breaking pitches, the slider and the curveball that move laterally, as well as have some horizontal break with them. Just a different look. He'll be able to keep batters off balance with that. We know he has a great changeup, and he's got all the confidence in the world in his fastball. So it makes him a true four-pitch guy, five-pitch guy if you want to separate out four-seamer, cutter combo versus his two-seam fastball. So Trevor's going to continue to get ground balls at a high rate this season, but the curveball, as we saw today in his final tune-up, he got a couple of strikeouts in at bats where he showed the opposing batter that curveball. So you just look for Trevor to kind of elevate that strikeout rate above 7 per 9, maybe approach 8 per 9 this season, and really solidify his spot as one of the big four and one of baseball's best rotations.
Yep, definitely one of baseball's best rotations in my opinion, and I think a lot of people think the same. So our next topic here is a couple of prospects. We got Jonah Davis and Aniel Cruz. Aniel Cruz more known than Jonah Davis. We picked up Aniel from the Dodgers for Tony Watson a couple years ago. Aniel, we met him at spring training. We saw how he played, and this guy is big. He's a huge shortstop. I think, 6'6", I believe?
Yeah, he might even be 6'7".
Yeah. He's a really big guy with a power bat. So we can start off with Aniel Cruz here.
Yeah, so rumor is that the Pirates didn't really have any power in the minor leagues, in the farm system. That's not true at all. So these two guys are who we're going to highlight on this show, kind of to show you otherwise. I feel like some fans have gotten caught up with, this guy hasn't hit 20 bombs in the minors yet. No. Like some of these leagues, these are kids playing. Aniel Cruz is going to be 20 playing at Class A Advanced, and he's going to be one of the older players there. He'll probably move up to Double A. Where the ballpark is in Altoona in the Eastern League. In the International League, none of those ballparks are hitters' ballparks like you see out west in the Pacific Coast League. So the numbers play to the ballpark. I believe last year the home run leader in the International League, which is AAA, had 23 home runs, and they were much older than the average prospect is at that level.
Who was that?
I'm not sure, but
Okay.
yeah, guys you want to be graduating from the AAA level are usually 20, 22, 23, right in that age range. So Jonah Davis and Angel Cruz may be teammates this season at Bradenton with the Marauders. And Davis is 21 right now. Cruz is 20, and he won't be 21 until after the season. Davis is going to turn 22 at some point this season. He played for Bristol last year, which is coming out of the draft, 15th round draft pick, but college draft pick. So you could very well see him to move to Class A Advance with that aggressive push after the development of college ball. But this is short season ball. In 206 at bats, he hit 12 home runs. Okay, he had 15 doubles and 6 triples. This guy is an extra base hit machine. Not only did he bat over 300 with a 306 batting average, but he walked almost half as many times as he struck out. So he posted a 398 on base percentage with a 612 slugging percentage for over 1,000 OPS. This guy is legit, and we saw him. That was the game against the Orioles where Jung Ho Kang hit the walk-off grand slam.
Yep.
He comes up
2 for 4 with 2 bombs.
Yeah, two no doubt bombs, and you can see the raw power. He's not a tall guy. He says that he's 5'9". He's listed at 5'10" on this page here, but he's definitely a strong guy. A lot of muscle packed into a shorter frame. But Angel Cruz, he's just the opposite. He's like 6'6", 6'7", and the thing is, he moves very fluidly for a guy that tall. So right now you see him out there playing shortstop. He's got range. He's got the good hands, good glove, good throwing arm.
Good bat.
And yes, the bat is explosive. It's what you call a cruise missile when he swings and puts one in play with a charge that sends the ball over 500 feet from home plate.
And that bomb he hit the other day, that was long gone. I don't know the exact numbers on it, but that thing was over the boardwalk.
Over the boardwalk, I think it hit the building that encloses the batting cages.
The batting cages, yep.
Yeah. So the ball could well have traveled over 500 feet. And this guy, he's 20 years old. He's still very lean, but he's a wiry, strong, and he just kills the ball. We saw him in batting practice the last game we attended in Florida, down in Fort Myers, and he was just killing some line drives. So we're just like jumping right over the fence, and they were like on the same plane trajectory, like probably a 11 degree launch angle, something like that.
Yeah.
Just rockets right over the fence. So there's no ballpark that can contain him when he gets a hold of a ball. And whether or not he sticks at short is debatable. For right now, the Pirates are gonna look to retain as much value with him, get him to stick at shortstop as long as possible. And what we're seeing from him now is a capable shortstop defender. There's a few things he needs to clean up here and there, just so that he's not messing up some of the more routine stuff, because he is kind of a little bit like Polanco, growing into that outstanding length that he has.
Yeah.
But he's already more coordinated than Polanco is today at a maybe even taller height. So, Ryan, anything more to add on those two players?
Yes. Jonah Davis in particular. Now, think of it like this. The MLB season is about 162 games long. Now, most players don't play the full 162 games, but say Bristol had 162 games and this guy played all 162.
Yeah, it's about a third of a season.
So, triple his home runs. That's 36 bombs. Now, from a guy down in rookie ball, a 15th round draft pick, those are some great numbers. Hitting 308, 34 RBIs. I mean, talk about some late round steals. Him and my boy Jack Herman, who I'm sure most people have heard about him hitting 341 last year at GCL. The only reason why Jonah Davis is at a higher level than him right now is because he went to college.
Yeah.
Back to Aniel, I think that this guy could be a corner outfielder or stick at shortstop for us. It just depends on how his development goes. I hope to see him at Altoona this year, maybe towards the tail end. I want to see how he does at high A before we send him up to double A. But yeah, these two guys are guys who I look towards in the future. I mean, if you're doing this at rookie ball, if you can be consistent with it and bring it through the minor league system, I can't wait for your MLB debut. So our next topic is Jung-Ho Kang and Eric Gonzalez winning the jobs at their respective positions. Now, Jung-Ho kind of left Colin Moran in the back burners and stole this job from him because, I mean, last year everybody thought Jung-Ho would not be back in the United States and he would call it a short career because it didn't look like for a while that he was going to get his visa. It looked like the Pirates were kind of turning the path here.
Turning the page, yeah.
Yeah, turning the page.
Moving on.
Switching streets here on Jung-Ho Kang and kind of going out and picking up Colin Moran. It looked like Colin Moran would be our opening day third baseman until Jung-Ho put up his spring numbers. Eric Gonzalez, I feel if the front office went and picked out this guy, him and two pitching prospects to trade Luplow and Moroff for, then they probably wanted him to be the opening day shortstop over Kevin Newman. I personally think that Eric had the inside track this whole spring. An inside track, we'll talk about that later. But so Gonzalez isn't really a surprise for me, but Jung-Ho, if you told me on February 1st that Jung-Ho would be our opening day third baseman, I would be a little bit surprised.
Yeah, I suspected that he would win the job, and that's why at Pirates Fest I asked that question to Clint Hurdle. I want to see if he would answer that question for me now. I sent you a text as soon as that was announced.
Yep.
Clint Hurdle finally answered my question. So, if you recall, he said, "We promise there will be someone playing third base there every night."
Kind of not giving any hints to anything here.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I don't think that Clint thought that Jung-Ho would have this type of spring. I mean, I don't think anybody did.
Well, he answered the bell for sure. I suspected that it was going to be the case because he showed up
ready.
He showed up after no rehab starts, okay, in September. Mm-hmm. Shows up in Cincinnati and first at bat smokes a single into left. I was like, "Oh, this guy guy still got it. He still got it.
He might be back."
Cuz like you can't teach that type of hitting talent. The guy's a baseball player. So I love that you've got a guy with good baseball instincts playing third base, and you've got Eric Gonzalez, who's just a phenomenal rangy defender. Today we saw it in Sarasota against the Orioles. Balls popped up into short center. Pablo Reyes initially broke back. Eric Gonzalez is out there basically camped under it. A ball that most other shortstops probably don't even attempt to make a play on, thinking that it's the center fielder's ball. And he's there to bail his teammate out because he got such a good jump on it. Reads the ball really well off the bat. Really strong throwing arm. Generally accurate. So, and anything we can get from him offensively is a plus.
Yep.
Basically, the expectation is a 690 OPS, right in that range, right around his career numbers, maybe 680, 690 range. But if he's able to work with Rick Eckstein and actually make some progress, hey, maybe he puts up a 730 OPS. And all of a sudden, you have at least decent offensive production from the shortstop position with a great defense, and you've got a chance at a two WAR player and significant contribution from the shortstop position. Now, Jung Ho is going to provide you with range, throwing arm, like everything you want from a third baseman. And just to take it to our next topic, basically he was given a checklist, okay? And it was come out and play good defense. Show us that you can be a middle of the order power bat. So his spring, some people want to say, Moran wasn't really given a chance. They wanted Jung to be the guy.
I have to be honest. Every game that I watched this spring, Moran made an error. He was not playing good defense. I don't know if I just picked the wrong days to tune in, but Moran was not playing good defense this spring, and his bat didn't jump out at anybody either.
Yeah, he was too ordinary with the bat. He did hit that 3-run bomb after a couple of errors that one day, but there was only like one game that I can recall where Moran was really rangy. He made like 3 rangy plays in one game. It was a weekend game, so I was able to catch that. And then just reading through like the coverage of the games, he kind of got an idea of how he was doing defensively. And then just leading up to the announcement that Jung Ho had won the job, Moran was just making errors, and he wasn't charged with an error on that one ball that he really didn't get to. He had lost it in the sun for a pop-up that was well in the field of play. So back to Jung, he really met everything on the checklist, and that's what's going to provide the Pirates with the wins that we're going to get to later with our win prediction at the end of this segment. But that's going to get them to the win total they're looking to achieve. And as far as like the strikeout totals and the batting average, hey, he met the checklist because they asked him, go out there, see what you can do, putting the ball in play with authority. 7 bombs, 2 doubles, 1 single. Okay, he only hit 1 single all spring and however many at bats, 40 or so at bats, and he had a fair amount of strikeouts. I think it was 18. But every single at bat, he was looking to put the ball in play with authority, and the result was 9 hits that went for extra bases. 7 of them carried well over the fence. So
yeah, and going back to Eric Gonzalez, we can feed our next topic into this. Now, Eric's selling point is really his defense. Yeah. His bat will take anything that we can get. So, do fans value defense? I'm going to start off with my opinion of no. Now, this is why. And I think that MLB has seen this as well. When you look at the home run numbers from, say, 1990 to now, they have skyrocketed. And some people speculate that Major League Baseball is juicing the baseballs so they leave the yard faster. Now, I'm not saying that this is true, but I'm not saying it's untrue either. I think that any kid watching baseball right now would much rather see a 500-foot home run than a diving play. Now, some people might have other opinions on this, but I think MLB's seeing it, and they're trying to bring in a younger audience, which I think is a great idea for the game, because baseball, as much as the people listening to this may watch it, it's not that popular of a sport over the world. And MLB's trying to change that with all the initiatives.
Over America.
Well, yeah, over America.
Japan we saw this past week.
Yeah, there's some select countries that it's way popular in, way more popular than other places. But back to my point. Defense is a huge part of baseball. I think it's the biggest part of baseball, and I think, I don't think that it's the biggest part of baseball.
But it's a huge part of team baseball.
Yeah, team baseball. I think that pitching is the biggest part of baseball because, I mean, if these hitters don't get a good pitch to hit, and if these pitchers don't make a mistake, then that ball's not leaving the yard. So, defense. I think that fans do not value defense enough. I think that a lot of these plays go unnoticed. A lot of these rangy diving plays, leaping plays, jumping up at the wall, I think that they all go very unnoticed. What is your opinion on fans valuing defense?
Well, I'll get into specifically Pirates fans and their value of defense in just a second. But it's pretty much fans nationwide, okay? They want instant gratification. The home run provides them with instant gratification. It puts out however many runs on the board.
Yeah.
The guy at the plate scoring with however many people were on base, whether that's 0, 1, 2, or 3. But defense is hard work because that's an out that you worked hard for, diving for. You made a play that's above average. You stole a hit, and then you've got to go back to work offensively. And that watching the grit and the hard work is not something that fans desiring instant gratification want to see. They're impatient. They don't want to see that. So, anyway, Pittsburgh fans in general, I've just seen this on Twitter and everything like that. The same fans that would rather the Pirates put a shortstop out there who's going to hit 25 bombs and has a hole in his glove and is going to make like a minimal amount of plays at short, are the same. They want that guy to play shortstop for them, but they're the first ones to complain about bad baseball.
They don't pay attention to defense, but when somebody makes a bad play, they pay a lot of attention.
Yeah, they have the most to say as soon as stuff goes wrong. Okay, and then there's the just not valuing if a ball gets through cleanly, even if it's a ball that somebody who, with any amount of range at that position, makes the play, steals a hit, then they don't care because it just went through clean. They'd rather blame the pitcher for that and go from there. So, yeah, fans in general don't value defense, but people who are around the game of baseball, play the game of baseball, understand that it's a team sport. They value defense, and it's such a great way to kind of steal wins is to actually have good defense. So having a good defensive shortstop for the Pirates, good defensive third baseman, that's going to be huge for the team this season. Now to kind of talk about the fifth starter competition that really. You want to say with the inside track talk, it wasn't really a competition.
I didn't feel like it was a competition. I don't think Kingham got much of a chance. I think, Neil was just like, okay, Jordan Lyles, we signed him. He's our fifth starter. Don't even look at Kingham. I mean, I'm sure that they looked at Kingham. I'm sure that they looked at Brault. But I don't feel like these guys got long looks. Because, I mean, for as long as I can remember this spring, it has been Lyles has the inside track. And I would much rather have Nick Kingham as my fifth starter than Jordan Lyles. I've seen numbers. He is way better in the bullpen than he is in the starting rotation.
Lyles, that is.
Lyles. His ERA is up towards 5.5 when he's a starter, and his ERA is about at a 3.5 as a reliever. So he's way better in the bullpen than he is as a starter.
Yeah, it seems like just what I've seen of the two. The only way this was really going to be a battle is if Nick Kingham came out and did what Juan Nicasio did a few years back.
Was that 17?
Before 2016.
2016, okay.
To beat out another veteran starter with kind of bland stuff.
Who'd he beat out?
Vogelsong.
Okay.
Well, in that case, it was just a spring training mirage basically. Nicasio wasn't capable of being a starting pitcher anymore. So in this situation, I think that Kingham, even though it looks like he may have lost the job, the fact that they haven't announced it yet means that he still has a chance. But I'm not going to keep my fingers crossed. I'm kind of thinking that the Pirates are going to stay with the plan. And
Hurdle said today that he reiterated Lyles as the inside track.
Yeah, Lyles is probably going to make that one last start down in Bradenton after the team comes north, and then he's going to pitch on the 7th, the first day in April that they need a 5th starter. So he's not going to pitch in the St. Louis series, but he'll be joining the rotation shortly after that. The way I see this playing out this season, though, Kingham kind of showed he's a good starting pitcher. He came out and gave up 5 runs in two separate outings, and he ended up with a 435 earned run average on the spring. He had the lowest WHIP at 1.31 of all and the highest strikeout total of all the 5th starter candidates. So he had the most impressive numbers on the spring after he put together his 4th scoreless outing today in relief, 3 innings of relief of Trevor Williams. But the way I see this playing out is he's going to end up with his rotation spot in similar fashion to the way Trevor Williams earned it the year that he joined the rotation full-time, which was 2017. And that was with Taillon going down. But I think I would predict that Lyles is going to ultimately show that his stuff's going to have to really play up. His curveball, changeup, everything like that is going to have to take over, because if he has some bad innings, the Pirates management team's going to have to reconsider and really take a look at the possibility of inserting Kingham into the rotation after 3-4 starts if Lyles isn't getting it done quickly. So Lyles, they know he's a great fit in the bullpen. They know Kingham put in a lot of hard work and has shown the ability. His sinker's playing way better than it did last year. That was the pitch that got hit hard of all 5 pitches in his repertoire. His sinker is really generating some ground balls. He's getting good movement on that pitch. And I think that he's going to end up in the rotation at some point this season. But Lyles, we wish him the best, and if he can run with that job, then he's going to be pitching pretty well if he's able to run with that job.
Yep.
Well, for a 5th starter, so somewhere on the level of what Ivan Nova was providing for this team the past two seasons. So,
how about this? Before we talk about Nick Birdie,
yeah.
How about we talk about ERA and FIP?
Okay.
I know that you made the note Twitter conversation here. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, so Alan Saunders was talking about the Pirates fielding independent pitching month by month last season, and he noted that their fielding independent pitching wasn't great in July. It was actually one of the worst months for them from a fielding independent pitching standpoint. But if you guys recall, the pitchers were dealing with large leads, and so there was no sense of urgency to really bear down and be dominant. They were content to throw a lot of ground ball pitches, get pitches put in play quickly for outs because they had a 5-run lead. So that kind of explains the kind of lull in their pitching independent, their fielding independent pitching numbers for that month. And overall, their numbers for the whole season ended up being right about where their earned run average was. It all evened out over the whole staff, with Musgrove getting hit the hardest by fielding independent. The biggest discrepancy between his earned run average and his fielding independent pitching. it's largely explainable due to the sports hernia or the hernia acting up on him late last season, kind of missing some spots. He ended up with 4 earned allowed in 6 innings, with hardly any base runners allowed, and 6 or 7 strikeouts in some of those outings. So, as far as that goes, ERA versus fielding independent pitching, this conversation is something that we want to introduce to Pirates fans, because earned run average is not the be-all, end-all for pitchers, especially like if you got a guy that's coming off a year where he put up an earned run average that he's not going to write on a paper and put it on his refrigerator, put it on display for everybody. If you look at his fielding independent pitching, all the strikeout, walk rates, everything like that, ground ball rates, soft contact rates, everything like that, that is going to be told in the kind of molded together into the number that is fielding independent pitching, which is an ERA-like number. It's going to be a measurement similar to ERA, and it's going to vary from ERA one way or the other, either higher or lower, or the same if it just happens to all line up. But it's a telling stat that'll tell you where it, like if a pitcher is going to continue to pitch at that great spectacular pace, or if he's going to fall off and kind of things will even out on him. Say he had one great season or he had one bad season, and then things will go back to the norm for him because his stuff plays better than it was playing for just that certain length of time in that given season. So basically, ERA is fielding dependent, and fielding independent pitching, that number is going to tell you exactly the number of quality pitches that the guy threw. So someone who's not throwing many quality pitches but is getting lucky with great defense behind him, the fielding independent pitching number will kind of tell you that. And, yeah.
All
Anything
right.
to add on that?
Well, you know more about that stat than I do for sure, but all these new stats that are coming out, they'll show different things to coaches, front office staff about some players who may need to get acquired for teams to perform. So our next topic, well, the broad topic for our next one is basically who gets designated for assignment and who makes this team.
Yeah.
And one person who's going to make this team, because he kind of has to, and he deserves it as well, is Nick Burdi. So, Josh, I'll let you talk about Nick Burdi.
Yeah, just to get into the origins of Nick Burdi, he was a second-round pick of the Minnesota Twins back in 2014. And coming up through their system, he was very highly thought of. I had thought that he was on a top 100 prospect list. I wasn't able to confirm that. But a prospect with that pedigree who never, in his minor league career, if you look...
Hold on, check this out. Drafted in the second round.
Yeah.
2014, the year he was drafted. No starts.
Yep.
Nothing. Right out of the bullpen.
And the only time he made starts
Was last year.
in Bradenton. Okay.
And a combined 2 innings.
So he
An
was
inning
an
to start.
opener. He pitched 1 inning to start each of those ball games.
And that's the only time that he was a starter in his career, and a second round pick.
He
Which
has
is mind blowing.
Yeah, he has pitched exclusively as a reliever. For a team to take a player who they're going to pitch exclusively as a reliever in the second round, or like third round or higher, like top 5 rounds.
I mean, most relief pitchers are either failed starting pitchers or late round picks.
Yeah. For a guy like this, he was on track to be a closer, basically. And you can see it with the stuff. Fastball, slider, basically the same combination that we saw Hanrahan dominate the National League with for a couple of seasons with the Pirates. And it's not the same as Hanrahan. He's like thinner than Hanrahan, but same downhill action from a similar height.
And velocity.
Yeah, the velocity, just pounding the bottom of the zone with the fastball, not leaving it up, and just getting the feel back for that slider, which is the key. That slider is filthy. And what he's done this spring is just been phenomenal. He's got 3 walks.
You're going to like this.
Yeah.
With Bradenton, 2 innings.
Yeah.
Or 2 games, 2 innings, 2 starts, 6 strikeouts.
Yeah.
He struck out every batter that he faced at Single A.
Yeah. So this guy has earned his way into the Pirates bullpen. So what you should expect from this guy is not just a guy who's going to be hidden on the back end of the bullpen because they need to, because he's a Rule 5 pick. No, he's going to be a contributor.
Yep.
Yes. And I likened his presence in the bullpen to something similar to what Kyle Crick brought to the team last year. 9.7 strikeouts per 9 from Kyle Crick last year. Really nice year from him. Should have made the All-Star team, but they kind of
overlooked.
Yeah, he was overlooked. They had a 1 Pirate limit on it.
Yeah. Pittsburgh Pirates, small market team, 3rd place in the NL Central. A guy with a low 2 ERA. Nope.
Yeah. So this is what you should expect from Birdie. Just a dominant relief pitcher out of the pen. We miss Edgar Santana as a personality on the team, a guy who contributed out of the bullpen. But Birdie,
the most used pitcher.
Yeah, Birdie should more than replace that production.
I hope that Birdie's the most used pitcher, so we can see him really perform.
Yes, I don't hope that he's the most used pitcher, but he basically makes it a big 5 in the pen.
Yeah,
with the rest of it being rounded out to start the season with Liriano and Kingham on the back end of that bullpen. There's not a bad pitcher in that bullpen if you think about it. So. What a phenomenal bullpen the Pirates have.
Their pitching staff is great.
Top to bottom. Yeah. Phenomenal.
You want to go on to our next topic, or you want to keep talking?
Yeah. Just to go on to the next topic, who's going to get designated for assignment with Liriano?
Now,
and
the reason why we're asking is because 2 non-roster invites are making the team this year. That's our old friend Francisco Liriano and Melky Cabrera. So that shakes up things a little bit.
Yeah.
We still have to add 1 player to the 60-day injured list.
Yeah.
Not DL anymore, injured list.
And that's Edgar Santana.
And that's Edgar Santana. When we picked up Jake Barrett, we sent Cool over to the 60-day injured list. Now, the reason why, for some of you guys that might not be following the Pirates, is because both of these guys are getting Tommy John surgery.
Well, they had Tommy John surgery.
They had Tommy John surgery. They are recovering from Tommy John surgery. So they will not be able to pitch this season. So a couple names that we threw out here. I'm just going to say his name, Dovydas Neverauskas, even though he's kind of done everything that the Pirates have asked of him this spring. Jose Osuna, Michael Feliz, Aaron Slegers, Jesus Lorenzo, and Jake Barrett.
Okay, so this is the list of players that are candidates to be designated for assignment. Once Santana is added to the 60-day injured list, that's going to be in effect throughout the whole season. So one of Melky and Liriano can be added with that move taking place. The Pirates' 40-man roster is currently full. So one of these players that Ryan just listed off, one of these 6 players, is going to have to be let go in order for the Pirates to add the other of the 2.
And hopefully, to keep them in the organization, they just get outrighted.
The goal is to keep these guys in the organization. And the reason why we came up with this list is because these players would be the least likely to be claimed if they had to pass through waivers and to stick around with the organization. Dovydas Neverauskas, because he's done what he's done this spring, shown the command, walked no one, and struck out a whole bunch of batters. I would almost immediately take him off this list just because he has an option left. So you can send him to AAA, keep him on the 40-man roster.
Move him back and forth throughout the year.
Yeah, with the way he showed in spring training, meeting his off-season checklist, he basically looks like a guy who may be a solid contributor at the big league level this season. Probably the best guy on this list to be a solid contributor. I am a big Jose Osuna fan, and I've always been, like, since day one. But the reason why I have him on this list is because his bat really hasn't played yet at the big league level, and because he's not a great defender anywhere but first base.
Has he played much this spring?
Yeah, he's played a lot of outfield because they're probably going to have him starting in one of the outfield positions at AAA. Gotcha. So I added him to this list just because he'd be easy to keep in the organization if you had to remove him from the 40-man roster. Nobody's going to be chomping at the bit to claim him and be like, oh, that's our next superstar. It could very well happen. It happened with Alan Hansen when they removed him from the 40-man roster. But, yeah.
So my guy on this list who's going to get designated for assignment is honestly Aaron Slegers. Now, I'll tell you why, is because our starting pitching is a little bit stacked, I'd say, and I don't think that this guy's going to contribute at the big league level. Now, they can go ahead and designate him for assignment, and hey, if he gets claimed, see you later. We didn't give up anything for him, we just claimed him.
Yep.
So if he gets claimed, see you later. If he doesn't, okay, outright him to AAA and have him pitch down there. So I think Slegers is kind of a win-win situation because if you do designate him for assignment, I don't really see him getting claimed. I mean, he might for some odd reason, but I don't see him getting claimed if you put him out there. So if
he's
the Pirates,
tall, that would be
his selling point. So if I were the Pirates and I wanted to keep Slegers in the organization, designate him for assignment, and if he doesn't get claimed, just outright him.
Yeah, so 3 of these 4 pitchers I have on this list for the same reason. Slegers wouldn't be my first option because the tallness just stands out. Like, people look at his bio and they see he's 6'10". They're like, oh, we want that guy.
Yeah.
Even though he doesn't throw hard, he's got bland stuff. Well, the Michael Feliz we've seen with the Pittsburgh Pirates has had bland stuff, and it's gotten hit hard.
It's not good. Good.
He hasn't displayed the 13 strikeout per 9 rate he was showing with the Astros. Even though he was getting hit around some with them, at least his stuff was playing up like he could get swings and misses regularly. So Feliz, Slegers, and Barrett gets strikeouts at AAA. He doesn't really miss bats at the big league level. His stuff just doesn't really translate. So he's a guy the Pirates brought in, added him to the 40-man roster because they had to in order to claim him and complete the waiver claim. Just to take a look at what he would do against big league talent in spring training. He had pitched out west most recently with the Arizona Diamondbacks, so they hadn't seen much of him. Just get an idea what he's all about, and basically he'd be a nice AAA arm. Another great candidate to be designated for assignment. Garanzo is the most interesting name on this list. We saw he can be very wild, but this kid, he can hit triple digits.
Hard. Yeah, and I believe he did while we were down there.
Yeah.
And that was early in spring training. That was the first week.
Yeah, that was against the Red Sox. He pitched. He got himself into big trouble, and then he worked the final 2 outs first 2 outs to get out of that bases loaded, no out jam, and then he was relieved in his second inning of work. So he's an interesting arm. The Pirates still have high hopes of getting him back on track from a control and command standpoint. So Him and Slaggers would probably be the least likely on this list. And the Pirates seem to like what Osuna brings to the table. So if I had to pick one guy on this list, I would just say Barrett.
Okay.
Barrett's the guy who gets designated for assignment. We saw DK came out with that article with the headline talking down on the Cole trade, where John Parada was actually just going into detail about that trade, where it currently stands. Feliz isn't dead in this organization. He hasn't had his final hurrah with the Pirates.
He's got some coming back to do, though.
Yeah, he needs to go to AAA, get some work in there, see if he can sharpen up his stuff, get better rotation on that slider. And maybe he'll come back and be a contributor at some point later this season or next season. We'll see what happens with that. But yeah, this brings us to the point in the show where we're going to make our Pirates wins predictions.
Yes. So I'll let you go first.
Okay, so I had it earlier on one of our earlier episodes predicted 88 wins. I saw something coming out with MLB Network doing the 30 clubs in 30 days. They have the Pirates right around 88 wins, being a contender for a wild card contender. They don't have them winning the division. The Pirates have shown some promise this spring, like especially in the area of power. Like this offense could take off some this year and be in a well above average offense, and we know about the strength of the pitching staff. So I'm going to take my win total up just 2 notches, all the way up to 90 wins. Right in that range where if they're a little bit better than that, they're probably taking home a division title, because this division is going to be battling it out. A lot of teams are going to be beating each other, and hopefully we get off to a strong start on Thursday against the divisional opponent in Cincinnati. So just the improvement on the defensive side and a little bit more on the offensive side. Get Josh Bell hitting some balls over the fence again this season. Get Greg Polanco back healthy as soon as possible. Starling Marte looks like he's got that light tower power working. So Corey Dickerson, he's got the
he's having a really nice spring.
Yeah. So we could see some nice offensive production from this group this season, and they have the talent, even in a tough division, to win 90 games.
So my prediction is very specific. So I'm going to say 87 wins, second place in the NL Central, but very close to first place, within 2 games of first place, and a wild card contender. The reason why I say that is I'm for sure that this pitching staff can get it done. I'm for sure that this bullpen can get it done. I'm just not really 100% certain on the bat. I know that our left fielder and our center fielder can do it, but I'm not sure about Cervelli producing as much as he has in the past. I'm hoping that Josh Bell has a comeback season. Adam Frazier, if he continues to hit and doesn't have any rough patches, that's great. Shortstop, we're not going to see much out of the bat. We'll take anything that we can get. And then Jung Ho, he may be a low average big bomb guy. We're just going to have to see. So my win prediction is 87 wins, wild card contender, close to first place in the NL Central. So, yeah, that's a good way to end the show. Yeah, not far off. And hopefully one of us are right, because I think that both of our predictions will give us a pretty good season. So thank you all for listening to episode number 8. Now, it seems like it was yesterday that we were at spring training, and surprisingly, we're done in Florida. Today was the last game at Lecom Park. Well, not at Lecom Park, in Florida.
Sarasota. Yeah, they're
in Sarasota. They're going to go to Houston, play 2 games, and then come back to Pittsburgh. Go to Cincinnati and start the season. So thank you all for listening to episode 8. And one other thing. In 2 weeks, we're going to start off the episode with a brief overview on how the team started the season. After that, We are going to have 6 guests on the show, and this is all going to be in the replies section of the tweet that I make. Well, actually, our Pirates Corner account makes about this episode coming out. So when this gets posted, go over there and reply in the comments if you want to be on the show. If we don't get all 6, I'll reach out to some people. I already have some people on deck for this. Come to the show with a topic. Each person is going to get 5 minutes to talk with me and Josh about the topic. So that brings us to about 30 minutes of talking to people. So around 5 minutes, come to us with a topic. I'm going to not double up the topics, so I'm going to put a list on my Google Docs and make sure that we're not doubling up. So 5 minutes, 6 people. We're going to start off the show with going over the season so far. And yeah, so not next week, 2 weeks from now, our episode is going to be meeting with some of the great people from the Pirates Twitter community. So thank you guys all for listening to episode number 8 of the Pirates Corner podcast. We're all hoping for a good season. Thank you all again. Have a good night.
Peace. Go Bucks.